I have my daughter Elise here now to help us out. And we showed you kind of the starter kits that you can get on Amazon or go to Lowe's or whatever. Again, like I said, I like Rainbird, but there's Orbits, there's a bunch of other companies that you can get. So just to show you, if the starter kit, there's a few things that I like to have in my little toolkit beyond that. And you can see I got my little bucket. This is one of those things that I bought, drip repair and expansion kit. But what I have in here is, you don't need any special cutters, so it's not like cutting PVC. Good pair of scissors is all you need to cut the pipe. Zip ties, one of the greatest inventions ever. I love to have those. And then landscape fabric pins, I think are an absolute must. And so we'll walk through a little bit. So a couple other my tips is, you can see here, I bought a huge roll. Thank you, Elise, for helping out. I bought a big roll of just a straight irrigation piping. So it works similar to a hose. I'm going to use this to run across a field to water my pumpkins. But whenever you get this, it's going to be really coiled up like this. And you can see here, I just wound some of this out. It's all kinked up and like, oh, driving me crazy. My advice is, if it's warm outside, unroll it as much as you can. Use a couple of these landscape fabric pins the day before you want to put it down, and put it out there, and then just stick these in there to hold it. Let it sit out in the sun. It's going to soften up. It'll be much easier to work with going forward. As far as putting all of the connections together, so if you're just getting started and saying, how am I going to do this? These are some of the different connections. So you got your T connection, you got your 90-degree. It's pretty easy to put these together, but my one advice would be, thank you, Elise. If you're going to put a lot of them together, take your time, don't rush it. You can see it's pretty easy to cut just with a pair of scissors. But putting these together is as simple as pushing them in. And again, if it's cold outside, this tubing is going to be much more rigid than it is if you heat it up. So same thing with both of these. If you leave these out, so if they're exposed to a lot of sun, remember those worm gears I talked about? Put those on there, and they'll make sure that those seals are all tight. You may get some dripping out of this, which is fine. You can reuse these. So for some reason you decide that you want to pull this off, all you do is grab a knife and kind of cut along this edge. Just try not to hit the ribs on here. So if you kind of nick the ribs there, that's going to be a path for water to come out. So as long as you're careful, you can take these off and reuse them. So just like Elise was here, so this is the main, like I said, this is kind of the main water line that you're going to have, and you can put all of your, hook your drip line to this. If you do want to go to smaller tube like this, whatever starter kit you have is going to come with one of these, and it's as simple as taking one of these T's. If you got a T, you stick it in the end here and grab the end of the tubing. So what you want to do though is you don't want to push it, so you want to hold the tubing so you don't go through the other side. So here, push it in there, it goes in, and make sure it's seated, and then you have that, and then you can grab another piece of your tubing and just stick it on the end. Like I said, some of these, especially like if it's cold outside, you have to push harder than you would if it's warm. Recommendation, like I said, if you have a lot of them to do, take your time. Your hands may be a little sore at the end, but then you have all those connections. One other thing I do want to show you is that a lot of times you put holes into these and you say, oh, I put the wrong hole there. You can take these out, and they make these little caps like this, which is basically just a plug. So you can stick that in there and it'll plug. It may drip a little bit, but basically it plugs any hole that you may have put in there previously. So if we walk over here, I'll show you guys again a couple different options for closing off the end of these. you can use these. Obviously, you're going to pay a lot more. I said my recommendation is you just get a zip tie and zip tie them up. But if you're trying to winterize, just like plumbing, my recommendation would be at the end of the year, you take those off so that all the water can flow out of there. If it does freeze, it will burst the pipes just like you have at home, any kind of copper tubing that you may have. But like I said, I recommend getting one of those starter kits if you've never done it before. It has everything that you need in there to get going. Figure out what you need, and then if you need more stuff, you can go online or go to Lowe's or any of your home improvement stores and pick up everything.